Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're joining us from today. My name's Sarah and I'm the Program and Event Manager at the Reactor in Sydney, Australia. Welcome back to another Microsoft Reactor Sydney live stream event and part of our productivity series with Kirsty McGrath. Just a reminder again that this is a Teams call, so if you could keep your microphone and your camera off throughout, that would be great, but you can interact with us through the Q&A section. Today, I would like to welcome back again Kirsty McGrath. Hi, Kirsty.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So Kirsty is a 3-time award-winning Microsoft MVP.
Full-time now.
Sorry, we've ticked over. So 4 now. The founder of the Microsoft 365 adoption user groups for both Sydney and Melbourne, and the author of the Office 365 infographic, which you can see behind Kirsty there. Today's session, we will be talking about making your life easier when working with Microsoft Outlook. This will be about a 60-minute session with 10 minutes for question at the end. However, do send us your questions throughout in the Q&A, and I'm sure if there's time or if it's relevant to the point, Kirsty will be able to have a look at that one. You'll also see I've put in the Q&A section a link to our check-in page with the event code. If you have time, please check in for today's session. We'll also share with you a link to our feedback survey, enter that event code again, which would be great. And also we will have the YouTube channel in there. So this one will be uploaded to YouTube within the next 24 hours. So you'll be able to catch an on-demand version of this one. And if there's anything that you missed from today, you'll be able to go back and refer to it. So without further ado, though, I'd like to hand the floor over to Kirsty to begin. So Kirsty, over to you.
Hello. Just want to double check you can actually see my desktop, Sarah.
We can see your PowerPoint slide.
Excellent. Thank you.
So you as well.
Just so that you know how to actually interact and the questions and Q&A and things like that. So let me just walk you through on how to work. So chat, it's actually not Q&A. Q&A is your live, but in the chat section. So in terms of your show conversations, you do have a little chat bubble up the top, show conversations, where you can have a chat with us today so that we can actually interact. And I am keeping an eye out on the conversation, so you can ask me questions at any point and I will try and answer them, especially where you're having any issues there. To raise your hand if you do have a question and you verbally need to ask something, just raise your hand. Or if there's something in particular you're having some struggles, we've also got Sarah here to be able to help if you raise your hand. Okay. So that's how you can work with me. Ultimately, as part of the session, we do have a code of conduct in terms of being constructive, respectful, kind, helpful, try to use the appropriate gifts and comments, and we all, work at different paces too. So please, and Microsoft have their code of conduct that's actually online for you to be able to review if you need to. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we actually are meeting from today, and to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples here today. Okay. So I am Kirsty McGrath. Sarah very kindly introduced. I do run the adoption user groups for Australia. It sits in that kind of productivity space in terms of the user groups, as we said, 4 times now Microsoft MVP. I'm also a change practitioner and a certified online learning facilitator, COLF certification with the Learning and Performance Institute. So, and I've been doing this for some time now. This is what I do in my spare time. So you may see these links on. I play around an awful lot with cakes. I haven't updated yet with the stuff that I've done over the last month. The joys of COVID and being locked down. I've been busy and doing some new techniques and playing with sugar butterflies and doing cookies now and something a little different apart from my cake. So that's what I do in my spare time. If you ever want to have a chat with me about anything. Now, this is often what I see when it comes to people's outlook. And, I have been doing this for quite some time. In terms of my history, so that you actually know, I was an executive assistant. So I was personal assistant, executive assistant. I was doing that for over 14 years. So I had to actually manage often up to, 7 executive leaders. And I worked at Microsoft looking after those. So I was looking after, their head of office, mobile, servers, it was finance, it was marketing, it was Windows, it was mobile. So I had, 7 managers that I had to look after, let alone when I had to look after the senior leaders at Telstra. And so I've been doing this for quite some time. So working with and helping people understand how to actually get control of their mailbox and what it actually looks like to live in a productive world around Outlook. It can be sometimes, especially having been doing it, might take you a moment to sort of get yourself set up and get working and get some control, but it's absolutely worth it. And during the sort of current times and around COVID, it's actually a good time to just stop and get some kind of organization, because really when we're living in this world and we're also trying to use Outlook, for example, as our document repository, which is where information goes to die. Ultimately, you're never going to be able to find something again. You want to try and get it into a little bit of a better state and make it a little clearer, because what happens is our stress and our anxiety goes through the roof really fast. We just have to come in the moment we load up our mailbox and we actually have a look at it, it kind of goes, oh man, okay, how many emails have I got? How many hundreds? Oh my God, and all the unreads. And I see mailboxes with, tens of thousands of mail in it. And it's got, it then has thousands of unread emails. And it just instantly takes their anxiety level through the roof. Their tasks, for example, they've got hundreds of tasks that are actually sitting there and they're not managing it. So it looks like they've got so much to do. And frankly, if your tasks have been sitting there for longer than 3 months, mark them as done, because I can guarantee you, you will never, ever go back to them. You'll never go and have a look at them. They're not going to get done. Same as, sometimes you have a reading list of all the books that you want to read, for example, or a task list at home, things that you'd like to do at some point or another. Get them off your list, because if it's been there for longer than 3 months, all it's doing is just stressing you out. So these are sorts of things that I want you to start to think about. Okay, let's go over into Outlook. Now, I will make absolutely no guarantee whatsoever on anything that's going to come up on the screen, because I'm working with you live. Like, I've got rid of a lot of the stuff and out of the way that, is on the confidential side of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it to you both over my mobile phone. So I brought it up on the screen. Now, sometimes this can actually drop off. We'll see how we go, because it can be a bit of a struggle trying to keep it up with this tech at the moment. And also on the desktop, because, I very much work across both. And a lot of times I'm not in front of my laptop. In fact, it's somewhat rare now that I'm in front of my laptop and I'm working from my mobile phone, because I'll be sort of working on the go around the house and may not be in front of my PC, for example. So we have some of the, the core things that we will do when it comes to behaviors and our mailbox around productivity. And I'm going to throw at you in the next hour a ton of different features. I'm not going to necessarily do a step-by-step. And if you've been on any of my sessions before, you'll realize it's going to go pretty hard and fast. There's going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to show you, because often we don't even understand the power of the technology that we've got in front of us. And if you've been on one of my other previous calls, and I'm going to ask you this question. Let's see if anyone's actually remembered. What percentage of Microsoft Office does the average person use? So you can go over into show conversations and you can chat. Anyone have an idea? Anyone been on a previous call with me? What percentage do we actually know when it comes to Microsoft tech, when it comes to Office? We've seen a few have been on previous. Yes, 10%, which is really quite low when you consider how many features and how many commands that you've actually got. Have you ever gone and had a look at the whole command list? There are so many there that you can adjust. So I'm just going to go and give you a bit of an idea. I'm just going to go more commands. So I'm going to come into here. So when we have a look at popular commands, and if I go all commands, let's start having a look. All the different commands that you could potentially know when it comes to using Outlook. Have you ever gone? Have you ever had a look? Have you gone, oh, what's that? Okay. So some of these things are worth going and have a look. I say go get curious. If you're not sure what something is, if you've never seen it before, then go and have a look. Go and hover over it. Not only have a look at it, but is there a keyboard shortcut that comes with it? Get to know your keyboard shortcut. So for a new item, for example, in your mailbox, Control-N is a keyboard shortcut for a new item. Now that's only good if I'm in my mailbox and I want mail. If I'm in my calendar and I want to do something in my calendar, I can go Control-N and it will do a new appointment. So it's Control-N is new for whatever screen you happen to be in. But if you want to do a new command, and say you're in your calendar and you want to do it for a new email message, for example, you'll actually see it's Control-Shift-M for mail, Control-Shift-M. So no matter where you are across Outlook, if you go Control-Shift-M, it's actually going to give you a new mail item. Okay, you'll see that the different ones here. Appointments, Control-Shift-A. Now meeting, you'd think it would probably be maybe, M, but it's for a message. So therefore, what is it for a meeting? Just to make it fun, Control-Shift-Q, because I'm going to remember that one. So it might take a little bit of practice for you to remember that it's Control-Shift-Q. If you're in your mailbox, in the inbox, for example, and you want to do a new appointment, you don't need to go to calendar and start clicking buttons. The moment we take our hands off the keyboard, we actually slow ourselves down exponentially. So get to know your keyboard shortcuts because that will make a massive difference to the way that you're working. You'll actually see that there are lots of other little items and things that you could actually do as well. It's something like a task request. So you got your Control-Shift-U. Now, you might be fairly used to, old patterns and behaviors. That's fine. If, for example, when you got Outlook and you opened it up and the very first thing, I want you to raise your hand, was the very first thing that you did was go into views and start adjusting it and making it look like kind of an older view of Outlook that you're fairly used to from quite some time ago? Raise your hand. Anyone do that? Yeah, look at, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon that we go in and we swap and adjust things around. Yeah, look, dark mode, fine. That's great because when we look at neurodiversity and things like that, those sorts of things are really important. But I'm saying more along the lines of that you've actually reduced these down to one lines and you've taken off the preview pane and we do all those sorts of things. Often what happens is we go into some of the older habits, but doesn't necessarily mean they're faster habits. Microsoft are very good at looking at the way that people use this technology, and they're going to give you the fastest possible way to actually interact with your mailbox. I would recommend, just for now, just for a little bit, give it a red hot go, reset your view, and then start to play around with it and get to know it a little better and see if it starts to speed you up. Things like, if you change your view to a one-liner, for example, and you've actually got rid of your preview pane, then you're going to get rid of a lot of things like your quick action items. So those sorts of things all start to drop off, the quick and easy ways to be able to work. So in terms of some of the productivity pieces you want to increase, then have a look at the view that you've actually got. Now you can adjust it around. Your preview pane might be down the bottom rather than running down the right-hand side. Those sorts of things I'm not so worried about. Okay. There's a lot of different views that, I like or recommend, but there are some that I go, if you're still trying to make it look like 2003, then maybe bring it back to modern. Now, I get a ton of mail coming in. There are things that I will often do to keep an eye out on what's going on. Down the bottom here, if I've got errors or I'm not connected, I'm going to have issues in terms of getting into the Exchange. If it goes down and it's actually your Outlook on your desktop, go to online. If you're online, you'll still be able to keep doing your email. Maybe not from your desktop for now because you're, could be out for whatever reason. Just go to online instead. When an email comes into your mailbox, what is the average amount of times we will read that one email? So if I receive an email and it comes in and I've got some spam here that have been flicked through to me, okay, so if I have something like this, or maybe it's an email that's come in, how many times do you think on average I might read an email that's been given to me? What's the average? Any idea? Go throw it over into our show conversations. How many times do you think you on average read? How many times? 2 to 3 times, 3 times? Yep. Yeah, 3 times is the average. And you think about it. How many email do you get in a day? Have you ever had a look at how many emails you actually get going in and out in one day? You can search by date. What's the average that you generally tend to get? Anyone have an idea of what theirs are? Type in 200 plus. Yeah, 200. Okay, so now I want you to times your 200 plus. Now, maybe you're not reading them all 3 times. Maybe only 50 of those were really important to you. Okay, even if it was 50, you've now got 150 emails that you've dealt with on top of ultimately the other 200 to 270. So you might then say, I've taken what I've got in my mailbox of 200 email, and I've now made it, unfortunately, 350 to 400 in a blink. And the reason that we do that is because often we don't take actions the very first time that email comes in and we're reading it. Now, I usually say go into your mailbox and see if you can limit it effectively to 3 times in a day. I know. Often we live by our mailbox. But I make it often very clear with others that, I will be in and these were the times. I've got focus time. I've got an Excel spreadsheet I need to work on, or I've got a PowerPoint. I'm getting dragged in and out. So what I will do is I will do things like, my notifications, for example, for my mail. So if you get all your notifications coming up for your mailbox, what I will do is I go in and you'll see that the only thing I have ticked on is a network warning. So if something goes down, because what is happening is every time I get this new desktop mail alert, it says go and work by someone else's priorities. Yep. It's not by my priority. It's dragging me in and it's saying someone has sent you an email, go and work by them. Okay, so it's kind of forcing you back into a mailbox sometimes when you need to be focused. And it takes us on average 21 minutes to get refocused on something. So we talk about those, reading an email 3 times. This is what happens. We kind of get distracted really easily. So I turn all those things off. But what I'll do is I'll actually create a rule that if something in particular around a project or a person comes in, it will give me an alert. If I need to keep on top of something in particular, I will set up very specific alerts instead. And we'll come back to that a little later on around your rules. So that's one of the first things that I do. I go in, I start turning that sort of stuff off. And I also have things like focus time that you can set up with Microsoft and work with your focus time. You can go in and set up in terms of your focus assist and say, when is it that I actually want to turn on where it shuts everything down instead for me so that I can focus on core things and get a little organized. Now, with this 3 times that we're often reading an email, what are the things that I can do when an email comes in? What you do? For example, the first thing is reply to it. What else might you do? Any ideas? Type it into chat for me. So we've got reply. Any other thoughts, anyone? Yeah, we're handling it. You might forward it to someone. Yep. What else might you do? Move it to somewhere. Yeah. Delete it. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Mark it. What is in flagging? Mark it as something to do for later. So do a flag. Any other thoughts? Oh, there's a whole heap of things that we can actually do. What often happens is the reason we read 3 times is we haven't actually done unsubscribe yet, a really good one. Unsubscribe is one that I highly recommend. I get them coming in all the time. There are other ones like create a rule so that you don't have to deal with it anymore, for example. So unsubscribe, delete. There are lots of different ways that we can actually manage it. Now, let's work our way through. It could be replying with a meeting, for example. If it is going to take you longer than around about 5 minutes to get it done, often what will happen is if it's within a short period of time, you think I can respond to that. So you'll respond immediately. The moment you see you've got to do something that's just a little bit more complex, can you provide for me that Excel document, for example, and you'll need to update it and send that through before Friday, Friday afternoon. Now, what will happen is it'll sit in your mailbox. And this is when we tend to start forgetting things. It will push down in our list. Sometimes we'll add it as a task or we'll do something with it, but there's a lot of really cool functionality that sits inside Outlook to work. Now, let's have a look. So we've got reply, try not to reply all if you potentially can. Look at limiting it down. Now, your keyboard shortcut is Control-R to reply. When it comes to forward, it's Control-F. It is not find when it comes to Outlook. We're used to Control-F doing a search across the other application. It is not in here. So I've got that. Now, if I want to reply with a meeting invite, or I want to put it on my calendar as an appointment, two different things. Now, if I wanted to say, okay, I've got to set up some time, I'm going to, have a chat with them. Up the very top here, if I've got something even with an attachment, for example, I can actually reply with meeting, Control-R, Control-Alt-R. Okay, reply with meetings. I go, can you please set this up for Friday? So I can go reply, for example. And what it will do is it'll include the person, it'll include an attachment, and it's automatically setting, because my defaults have been set, to actually have it as a Teams meeting. Okay. So this then allows me to instantly create a meeting rather than go into my calendar, create a meeting, add the person, start copying and pasting all the content over. You'll see all the thread of that email will be there. And if there are any attachments, it'll automatically put the attachment in for me. So I can then start to generate that meeting from there and send it off. Okay, so that's the first thing that I might do. What if it's an appointment? I need to come back to this. It's just some junk mail. I need to come back and I actually want to set up an appointment. Maybe it was, can you do that Excel spreadsheet for me? And I go, okay, righto, hang on a second. So I'm just going to do a drag and drop to my calendar. So with a drag and drop, now what's happening is I've got an appointment and I know that I need to do it before Friday. So on Thursday, I'm actually going to spend, it's going to take me a good 3 or 4 hours. What happens is, when I do this, I'm often living and breathing by my calendar. And if you're anything like the vast proportion of people, especially if we live in the corporate world, we're in death by meetings. We're going into a meeting, and when we're in that meeting, we get a ton of actions to do something. And we get out of that meeting to walk into another one to get more actions, to go into another meeting, get more actions. But what we're not actually doing is we're not creating time in our calendar and blocking components when it comes to focus time or things that you need to do with your mailbox. Get your calendar to a point where you've got on it, and if I just go save, and if it had any attachments, can you do work on this link or this document? It's now all over in my calendar, ready for me to be able to work in future. Okay, so that's how we then start to go, okay, I've got it on my calendar now. It's an appointment, not a meeting, an appointment. So we've got to reply, we've got to drag and drop. You could also do the, flag it. So if it's flagged, we can sort by flag. But to me, a flag is great if I kind of want to highlight it in my mailbox. And if you're really good at looking at your flags on a daily basis, and you can change your view at any point so that you can actually see over on the right-hand side, things like your tasks. So you can actually put that in a pane if you need to have it up. If you're not good at keeping an eye out on it, then change your view to include it. You can just hover over, for example, to see tasks that you've got there. When it comes to that, it's quite passive. So I want something that's going to kind of stand up and hit me in the face a little bit more, because I'm going to go, I am totally going to fit that I need to do that every Friday afternoon because it's my timesheet and it's going to be, at 4:30 and I need to do it before I leave, for example. Okay. So if I then, want to have a look at this. Is there a keyboard shortcut? No, but you can actually create your own, by the way. All right, let's just have a look. I'll double check. I'm pretty certain. You'll see. Oh, yeah, sorry, I did say it. Yeah, Control-Alt-R. My apologies. I said that right at the beginning. Reply with meeting. My apologies. So if I then go, okay, I've got my follow-up. This follow-up here, and I'm just doing a right click on it. I could come up to the top, right click, or drop down. I've got my follow-up up here as well. I'm going to make it so that it's a little bit, as I said, more aggressive. I'm going to add a reminder, because it's all very well and good to have a flag and it's for today. The default is for today, but you can set your actions so that it actually fixes it a little bit better. So you can go, what day? So I want it to be this week. And it's got automatically start by Thursday, due by Friday. I could change it as well and go add a reminder. and say, well, when do I want the reminder for? Well, actually, I was talking about it being potentially a timesheet. So, you know, Friday afternoon, and it's going to be around about, I'll do 4 p.m. and go, okay. So what happens now is it's going to be a little bit more aggressive with me, and those notifications I might turn off, it's still going to come up because I've set a flag and I've set now a reminder to be a little bit more aggressive. So it's all very well and good to have a flag, but if you're not managing it, then it gets very difficult. Searching follow-ups, absolutely, there is. So when we have a look at the ways that we actually search, and I'll come back and I'll do a little bit on search for you. Okay, if I've forgotten, please remind me. Put them in your calendar and have a reminder. Absolutely, I don't mind whatever it is. It depends. Some people prefer to have a flag, or maybe you've been sent something with a flag against it, and you might want to set a reminder on that flag. Okay, and we'll talk about that and task management as well. So that's our next piece. Another core component, apart from the reply all done, move to, we can delete, for example. Now I get a lot of different kind of emails coming in. It will be Microsoft partners, it will be all sorts, like here we go, dragged and dropped one of them out of the mailbox. I go, righto, let me just go download. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to see this, and I can absolutely guarantee you that's going to take me on a tangent somewhere and go, oh, I go, well, they like that idea. Hang on, I'm having a look. Let me just go, bang, I'm gone. I've lost myself from the mailbox. I'm going to be in there for the next 30 minutes. And I go, well, I don't know if I like the price of that. I'm going to have a look at something else. So what I do is I get this stuff out of my mailbox immediately, and I set up the rule to get it gone. I do have over on the right hand side, you'll see I've got different things that I might have as a filing kind of mechanism. Now it's been proven that there is no difference in terms of finding information if it is in a folder, one folder, or if it's in multiple folders. In fact, I find that for most people, they get so caught up on folder creation that it actually slows them down. If it's already set up, little different. But if you're constantly creating folders and you're finding that you can't find a folder or find an email, you go, where did I put that? And you're trying to do searching, you're searching anyway. So, just put it all into one box. So I have stopped filing into folders. Now I did that for a very long time, and I've stopped, and it has made no difference to my world. So what I would do is I go right click and I go, I don't want to manage this anymore. Don't want to deal with it. One of the problems we find with rules is you haven't gone far enough on a rule. If you're going, that rule didn't work, it filtered things and I have to delete it, I got to get rid of it, oh my God, I can't believe I missed that. Stop. It just means you didn't go far enough. So I can go create a rule. It could be always move. And this means literally anytime I get something from the good guys, always move it and go drop it into newsletters. Now, what will often happen is I actually have set often on a Friday afternoon when things are a little quieter. I know I have quiet afternoons, for example, 1 hour where I go through my newsletters. Then I become very specific about what I read because I've given myself 1 hour. It's when my brain's a little dead. I might have a couple of different focus hours. It might even be twice in the week. It depends on how busy things are as whether I need to keep across it. Now, there are some newsletters I definitely don't put into, for example, and one of the ones is in my MVP community, I always keep an eye out on stuff that comes in from our community manager, Shiva, for example. So that definitely does not go into my newsletter folder. So that was just a really quick, easy one to be able to do. Now, whenever this comes in, if I wanted to, I can go, okay, so say we've got introducing, Windows 11. I go, I want to create a rule. Let's have a look if we do the whole thing. Where it's not going far enough, it says if it is sent from Windows, it could be, there's the play the sound. Remember I said that I'll have emails that come in and I want to make sure that it does give me some kind of a notification. Display the alert, play a sound. Really simple, right click, create an alert. Now this is the simple interface to create a rule. It could be move this to newsletter or select a folder that you want it to go into. Because what I'll often see is we're manually managing a lot of our mail. You say, move it. Let's have a look at some of the ways that we can move it without doing it ourselves. So move the item into a folder. So select your folder. That's a simple rule. okay, going to newsletter. But I'm going to go, hang on a second. If something comes in from Windows and I've already moved it to newsletter and it was urgent, for example, it was something that was specifically sent to me or whatever it went. Okay, let's go have a look. Advanced options. When we get into here, I can then start to go a little further on that. So if it's from Windows, I'm going to move it. Or maybe it's I don't want to actually go and move it because this is the select the condition. What are your conditions? And you can have different conditions. So it could be if it comes in on that particular project from that particular person or two people, for example, then you really need to take notice. I'm going to go next. Then what is the action? Often we're only choosing one thing. There are way more that you can do. You could be moving it, or if it's junk mail, permanently delete it. If you keep getting hit like that one I had up there, not just delete it, permanently delete it. So it's not sitting in your deleted items, for example. It could be, I want you to move it, but I know that it's a newsletter that's important to someone else and forward it to someone. Or you want to actually deal with it, play a sound, mark it as read, for example. Going next. Now, this is what people often don't spend their time playing around with. What are your exceptions? This is why we often go and delete a rule. Make sure you have a look at your exceptions. There are so many really cool exceptions in here, except if my name is in the to or CC. So this means, for example, you get a newsletter and it's going out to a distribution list, for example, generic. If it's generic, move it. But if it was to me specifically, then I don't want you to actually move it. Yeah. So they're the sorts of things that we start to then go, okay, creating a rule. Now it is automatically done that for me. But what often happens is I've got a ton of rules that I set up. Let's go back into rules, managing the rules and alerts. And in here, I've got some that are turned off. So there's a rule, but I go, I don't want to run that. Okay. So I'm going to turn certain ones off. I don't want these ones coming through. I'll just turn some on and off. And I go, okay, what I want to happen now is I only want to have those rules run when I'm ready. At the end of the week, so I will come in and go, run rules now. So instead of me manually dragging and dropping things, it'll then just go, boom, 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 put them into the folder for me, but it's done it when I'm ready and not just running the rule automatically. So that's how you kind of work with your rules. So it will then move and have them go where I want them to go. So there are ones that I've turned on and off for you. The other thing that I'll do, and this is where I have a lot of fun, raise your hand. Has anyone set up their quick steps? Raise your hand. See if anyone has set up their quick steps. Oh, Pranam has. Nice. Got my cup of tea here. Everyone, I'm waiting for everyone. We haven't had anyone set up their quick steps yet. Okay. Let's have a look at quick steps. Thank you. So up the top, my quick steps. My favorite one, Ted's put his hand up too. My favorite one, I have one in here that I've created called done. Okay. Done. Now in here, you've got some standard ones. Things like if you're always forwarding something to someone in particular, like you're always going, I need to send this through to, I need to send this through to, okay? Set it up. So you can go forward to manager because maybe you're putting in a comment. So if I go, I'm forwarding this to manager, who's your manager? You might put their name in here, forward it to, or it may not be manager, maybe it's to the team. So you're forwarding off to a particular team or a project that you're working on, for example. Who are you sending it to? If you do something that's a repetitive action, this is where you can go. Not just one step, but multiple steps. Okay. So in here I go, name, to manager, forwarding it to. Who is the person, people, distribution, lists, whatever the case may be that it actually goes to. So I go, I want to forward this to. I'm going to put in here to, I'm always forwarding things to, I deleted this a little earlier, to bookkeeper. And my bookkeeper is Liz Collins, done, and I'm going to go save. So now what I've got here is I'm always forwarding invoicing information that's coming in, for example. It could be I purchased this, sorry. Okay, so these are sorts of things that I have in here. The one that I've got up here, done. So how do you create a quick step? You can either choose from the standards that are here or do your own. So I've got my own custom quick step, or I can manage the ones that I've got. So if I go custom, you'll see here, I can add lots of different actions. I can even create a keyboard shortcut. Now I'm already using some of these, so maybe if I go down Control-Shift-3, it could be whenever I get an email that comes in, I wanted to then permanently delete. I go mark it as read. I then want to categorize that message because I use categories. So I'm going to go, this can be my Microsoft, say I'm going to categorize it as Microsoft. I'm then going to move it to the folder. And I can go in here and start to say, other folder, I want you to drop it into my MVP folder. And instead of being marked as read, I'm going to go my MVP. Okay. And then I'm going to go, another action is I then want to, and you can see here, could be create a task with the attachment if it's got something that I'm supposed to actually focus on and do. And it could be set it as important. So I could be moving it, putting it in there, set a reminder, mark it as important, have it as a category so it's easy to find, and I got a keyboard shortcut and I go finish. So now when I go Control-Shift-3 against this as Windows, it will do all of that for me. So if you've got repetitive actions, set it up so that it will actually do it for you. Mine here that I use all day, every day, selects the email, marks them as complete, moves the email into a specific folder and marks it as read. So it's completed it. So it gives me a tick to say that it's being done, read, moves it, and reads it. So that goes, okay, I've done this now. I tweeted out in regards to Windows, it was an important component. So I go Control-Shift-1 and it's now just dropped it and marked it as read. Okay. So I can go over into archive inbox and you'll start to see these are all things that I've then got. You'll see it's marked as read and it's moved it over. See, it's all in here. And I just have my one and it goes into a specific folder. So therefore, now I'm starting to get a little bit of structure around this. I've got my quick steps. Awesome tool. If I'm trying to, find something in particular. So I come up to the top and I've got my searching. And in here, I've got suggested actions as well. So if you're not sure how to do something, you can actually search based on an action as well. So don't forget that. So say I'm going, I want to find, this afternoon, I'm running my session. We've got the Microsoft team. My user group is at 12 o'clock today. We've got the Microsoft team all to do with modern commenting and collaboration. There's 6 of them coming in to actually help and interact with you. It's all up there online if you want to join us. They want to get some feedback about modern commenting and collaboration in Microsoft. So we got the product manager for Excel and SharePoint and Word and PowerPoint, and everyone is coming in. Fabulous. So if I go, I want to find something that's from Michael, and I can start to see, and it has an attachment. So we got the flagged. So we got, I want to find something. So have a look at what happens. See here, if you want to go, how do I search something that's by flagging, follow-up flag, follow-up flag. There is words there that you can actually use and adjust to find something in particular. Same is for things like dates. Everyone often gets, a little bit of I need to do the phone, go. What happens is, so say you're trying to find, and it's in regards to a date, for example. When we have a look at ways of working with a particular date, so on our search tools, you do have your advanced find. But if I was going to go, let me come back again. If I'm going to go and I'm going to search and I want to actually include, say, a particular time or date in here, when I go, I want to do based on items expiring, adding a form field. We've got form fields like dates, or you can start to type in date and you can give it a particular date range. So if I was saying I want to look at it, and often what we'll do is look at something from the last, week in our search options. So if we have a look at search options and you went, where am I? We've got lots of different choices, lots of days that we can actually filter down and a particular field, for example. So if I went and we start to have a look at all these different fields, there are so many fields that you can actually work with. So if I go, I want to go, if it was modified, if it was received any time in the last 7 days. Now these are on or before. So say we go on. Now when you start to go, I want to have a look at the 6th of the 7th, 2021, add to list, find now. Okay, it's going to do its search. Now have a look at how I've typed that in. So if you wanted to do the same thing, received on, you'd come up here, have a think about it. Received on 2021. Yeah. So have a think about the field. It's all about fields and what are the right fields that you actually need to be able to type in. So if you're not sure what it is, go and have a look, and that's how you can start to filter things down and find by something very, very specific when you're doing your searching. So anything you can find. Now, another way to work with your search that I particularly love is, if you haven't used it before, go and have a look at your search folders. You'll see here, I've got one called All Mail. Love it. It's one of my favorites. So if you've got tons of folders, so say you've lost something, I go All Mail. And in here in my All Mail is literally absolutely everything across all my mail items that I've been dealing with for quite some time. So, 27,500 item. How did I do that? Right click, new search folder. And in my new search folder, I go anything, and I'm doing custom search folder. And I'm going to, what's the criteria? Choose it. Give it a name. All mail folder. I'll give it another name, so I've already got one there. And I'm not going to set a criteria, because if I set a criteria, what I do is I limit down what I want to find. Instead, I just go, okay. It says you haven't got any criteria for your mail. That's right, that's what I want. And I'm going to go, okay. Then what it does, it actually creates an all mail folder with everything in it. So set up some specific folders for you, and there's lots of really cool folders that you can actually create. So then what you could do is do a drag and drop, and I put it up here. So if I really want to find something and I go, ooh, where did I move that to? I can't remember. I can just go jump in my All Mail and search. So in here, I can start to go, show it by, I want you to have it by a particular date for me instead of by, or by from, or by flagged, or by categories. So there's plenty with none, but I've got a lot of categories. So it allows me to start finding things based on Microsofts and clients and all sorts of stuff, okay? Working with my categories. Categories is another way to be able to find. Now, your categories, if you're going to create them, is right across the whole of Office. The great part about categories is it allows me to be able to see things in a visual. We have a 76% better recall of information when it's colors or pictures. Now, often I want to have more than just my inbox open. But if I swap over to my calendar, I'm always moving backwards and forwards. Your keyboard shortcuts running across is Control-1 for mail, Control-2 for calendar, Control-3 for your people pane, Control-4 for tasks, 5, 6, 7. So they're all your keyboard shortcuts. So if I just went Control-2, it's going to allow me to move over. But if I want to have both screens open, I right click and I go open in a new window, especially where I've got multiple screens and I want to have different things on different screens. Now, Microsoft is really good at remembering certain patterns. So what will happen is if I want it to, in future, open up both my inbox and my calendar every time I open up Outlook in future, I would go in order. So 1, 2, close down my mailbox, then close down my calendar. So what will happen is in future, both of those will actually come up for me the moment I open Outlook. And it could be you have 2 different calendars open and you go, what ones do I want across the 3 different screens? So going over then to calendar, you'll see here I've got categories. It allows me to go, what's a call, for example? It's definitely going to have a call. That one I need to do as a call. So my categories whether it's in my mailbox, my tasks, my Outlook, all the same in there for me and me alone. So I've got specific ones. So I keep it simple, and I know exactly how much time I need to travel because I've got it blocked out. I'm not traveling, of course, anywhere at the moment. Or my flight details. Really good one. That drag and drop, an appointment, putting it on your calendar, your flight. Go do a drag and drop direct to your calendar and then mark it as flights so that you can see it physically on your calendar. So when someone says, are you going to be free on Thursday, Friday, whatever, you go, actually, and that color will help you visually remember what's in your calendar. So it will bring things up. And I know exactly what my times are when it comes to focusing, for example, or conferences and things that are going on. So I adjust it around. Now, this one I can either manually do or set it up as a rule to go whenever something comes in that's an invite from this type of email address, then set it as a category so it does it automatically for you. Okay. So that's working across the calendar. You'll see I've got 2 time zones. I'm often dealing with Perth, for example. Right click, and you'll see here I've got change time zones. All I've done is just put 2 in, showing a second. You've also got a 3rd time zone. So if you're dealing with international zones and you find it tough understanding what time it is there, you can actually adjust your calendar in that way. Let's come back. Dealing with our mail and some of the other cool things that we've actually got in here. I'm going to go new email. Having multiple, signatures is always a really good one. So you can flip and swap between them. You can set it up through your signature so you can choose which one you want to have. So if it's a personal one, it just goes thanks because I've repeated this many times and I don't want to have it as a business one. So I just adjust it around to whichever one that I want. A lot of the times what I will see is I am, for example, wanting to provide some time to someone in particular. We've got meeting polls in terms of find time, really awesome feature. And you'll also find it on your mobile phone. So for example, if I'm on my mobile phone, say I wanted to set something up as a meeting, when I go reply all, I've got reply. Down the bottom here, you can actually see I've got calendar. So what I'll do is I've got send availability here or convert it to an event. So I don't have to go to my calendar on my mobile phone and start setting it up and adding everyone's names in. I've got the same feature and functionality in here as well. Okay, so I just go convert to event or send availability, and I can then start to just choose my times. And what it does is it actually does 30-second blocks. And when I go, I want to do that, let's have a look. This is what it looks like on my mobile phone. The same feature happens here in terms of setting it up, and it wants you to put in, who do I go? I'm going to put in, try that again. Okay, bring in, we've got lots of different people. So I'm going to go, okay, Craig, and here is my find time. Now, if they're actually got a 365 account, it will then easily pick up them as well in terms of find time. Now, I wasn't sending it to them, but what if I then go, okay, so Sarah, let's have a look. Kind of go choosing time, and I go, these are times selected, and go next, setting up a poll, add it into the email, and it will drop it in. Another way to be able to do it, okay, I'll just close that down, get rid of. Another way to go, insert, you'll see here, calendar. Insert calendar for which calendar? You can go just my standard. When for? I want to show the next 7 days. What kind of detail do you need? And show only my working hours. I go show everything over the next week and go, okay, this is my availability. What are your thoughts? So I'm not doing a pick a time. I'm just going, this is where I'm at, and let's have a look at, and this is just a table, by the way. It's literally just a table. See, table, design, layout, show the grids. You want to delete out, just go, I don't want that free time in there. You could literally just delete out that row. Okay, it's just tables to work with. There you go. Just undo. Back. A lot of times what I'll see in mail is people trying to create some structure and they're tabbing and things like that. I would highly recommend go and put a table in to give you some structure to something in particular. With that structure, you don't actually have to have it with a border. So you can go, I don't want it to have any borders. So you can just go no border, layout, grid line so that you can see it. So you can get a structure around, you know, maybe it's a picture that you want running across the top. This is how I create things like newsletters. So those newsletters then will look pretty. They've got a banner, they've got specific, you know, spots that information will actually sit, and it sits within a very structured environment. So that's some of the things that I do particularly love to work with. The other thing that will happen is if I'm dealing with someone new and you're working with your global address list, for example, and I start to type in, I go Catherine and I go Control K, it will limit down in your global address list to everyone with the name Catherine. If it is exactly their name and it's got a last name against it and you go Control K, when I go Control K, now I could select it, or Control K will then go find it in your global address list, for example. Okay. So it's a quick and easy way to be able to do what's up here called check names. You will notice it doesn't have the Control K against it as its keyboard shortcut. Okay, but that is the keyboard shortcut for check name. Okay. If I'm working, and often I'll be in a bit of a, might be in a creative space, I'll use dictate, and I often will do this, especially when I'm, on my mobile phone or I'm on the go, depending on what it is that I'm trying to actually do in here. So my office dictation, you'll see it's Alt, and you've got your I will remember the name of it in a minute. Someone can type it in for me. I say it all the time, but I've gone a bit of a blank. So when I want to work with my dictation, I'm having a bit of a, brain block. Tilde, thank you. Yes. I knew I remembered. There we go. So what it's doing is it's now dictating for me, full stop, new paragraph. Now that I've got this information out of the way, can we have a chat around what we're going to look at next week? Full stop, new paragraph. Love to do a session on maybe PowerPoint and have a think about how we can structure this. Any thoughts? Question mark. Much easier if you type slow and you have a look at it. You can actually teach based on some of the accessibility features. There's some awesome accessibility features to be able to help and support you, especially when you're a bit of a thinking mode. And then you can come back and edit and adjust it as you need to. Okay. So some of those productivity things can really help you. Forms, for example, or you want to set some kind of, timing around it. There is some very cool features in here. If you want to do shapes, for example, you want to drop anything in here as a shape, then please do it on a drawing canvas. Otherwise, things will move around on you. So that's how you actually get in here to be able to play around with it. Put it within that drawing canvas. You can do some drawing. If you're going to do a drawing canvas, and in that canvas, you could drop a picture, for example, and then draw on it. What I particularly love doing is, so say, for example, someone has said to me, where do I need to meet you? I've got my screenshotting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up maps. Here's maps. Okay. So in here, I've got show me, there's a, how far is it going to be? What I've done is I've already done a previous drawing. So it could be show me the distance from, and this is where I've literally got my, pen, and I can go, and when I leave here, how far is it for me to go here, for example? 7.9 kilometers. Okay, this is the direction you need to go to find me, and I can do a screenshot of that. Let's have a look. I'm going to go screenshot, screen clipping. It'll go to wherever it is I was last. Okay, this is where you're going to go. This is how far it's going to be. And I got my little screenshot in there for me using my drawing canvas. Okay. So this gives you a bit of an idea of some of the fun stuff that you can actually do to keep you up to date. It could also be that based on a contact card. So for example, if I went over and I started to have a look at in my people pane, contact card. If there is actually an address, so if I go a new contact, for example, and I'll just go Kirsty, and I say this is a business address, it's fine. I'm just going to come down here, and it's say 300, I don't know, George Street. That's where, for example, Wynyard is 300 George Street, Sydney, New South Wales, 2000. See here, I've got to map it as part of my contacts. You can do screenshots and go, this is where I'm going to be, or find, and it will zoom in. It'll give all of the details, 300 George Street, and I can now do a screenshot and drop it in. So there's some rather great features that you're going to find, whether you're in your mailbox or your sent items. You will note that in my mailbox, I have just an archive inbox and archive sent. I just drop absolutely everything in there to be able to stay informed. Okay. What's the normal way of having emails in the inbox folder, having them moved to another folder? I just there is no norm really. Ultimately, you can do what you wish to do. Personally, I just have everything in one folder. I just mark it as done. So Control-Shift-1 for me, because I set it up as a keyboard shortcut. Everything then sits in there. You'll see there'll be stuff that I've got just filtered in there because I just, I'm kind of keeping it, but I don't necessarily want to, like this one here, I've done it so fast, I've just moved through, done, and Cortana briefing. Get in and have a look at your Cortana briefings and your analytics. If you're using My Analytics, you've got a network, you've got a well-being one, you've got a focus time one. Use it. They are awesome. They send some great reminders, things like, here's your presentation, do you want to use it? Yeah, I actually did. Yeah, done. This is afterwards. Here it is at a Teams meeting. Have you done this? No, not related. You can set it up as a task. Okay, book some focus time. I've booked my focus time. Thanks very much. Who am I spending my time with? Who are my top collaborators? Explore it a little bit more. Here's your well-being. Go and have a look. Quiet days. Explore. Would you like, to add more quiet hours because you've got too much going on? Go and have a play around. They're really worth getting to know. There's some awesome features and functionalities if you're using Teams. Do things like share it straight to Teams. If someone keeps emailing you, put it over in Teams if that's where you're living, for example. You can go both ways. So there's the new feature. A lot of times what I also do is if I'm having a meeting and it's around something in particular. So, for example, I want to do some work around Viva. I can just go send that to OneNote. So I set myself up in the meeting long before I would get in there, send it over. I'm going to put in my quick notes. Okay. Now what's happening is it's dumped it over here, ready for me for my meeting, for example. And I'll take notes and doing things along the way. So awesome to actually have things where I can work with it. I can work on my folders. I make sure that I do my action and I do it once, whatever that looks like. Tasks, flagging it, marking it as read, moving it into a folder, set that rule up, or doing your done. Reply to it. If it's longer than 5 minutes, get it on your calendar because that's going to make such a difference so that you've got one place to go to see what you've got going on. There's some great features here. There's so much more that we could be doing along the way. There's all the read out loud, and one of the read out louds I'm particularly loving at the moment is in my mailbox down the bottom. You can set it up with based on your Cortana on your mobile phone. You've got your play features, so it will read out your emails for you.
Boxes to listen to.
Okay, so here it goes. You've got emails, checking any new emails.
I don't have anything new for you when you're
okay. So I can do that. I can do it on the go and on my mobile phone and play. I can say, hey Siri, if I'm going to kick off, of course, Siri, play my emails. It's all embedded now as a part of my mobile phone. So working across that will make such a difference to your day. Hopefully you've got a little bit about, better ways to work and productivity. There are some really great features. Go and actually explore them. Go and have a look at different ways. set up your quick actions, set up things like categories for you, set up some good rules, unsubscribe. Seriously, unsubscribe. There's so many things that you could be unsubscribing to. If it asks you to type your email in as part of unsubscribe, get out, because what it's doing is it's actually trying to capture from something that's generic. Just be a little careful on that one in terms of put it in your junk. Righto. Any other? Let me have a look. Any questions that I need to answer? I have been trying to keep up to date, but we're trying to get across. Let's have a look. Put them as a reminder. Okay. Okay. It depends on where you actually put your RSS feeds in terms of being able to search them, because you can actually put it outside of a searchable field. If it's underneath your inbox, if it's still within that mailbox still, and depends on how you set it up for your searches, what you can do is have it in a folder and have a search folder for your RSS feeds specifically if you need to. Okay. Can I use Dictate or any other feature to do things like reply or forward just using voice commands? Okay, so, when it comes to voice commands, that's a Cortana thing to do. So it's all based on Cortana. Setting up your Cortana then becomes important. So talk to then Cortana. So you then start to go, hey, Cortana, make sure I often have to turn this off because I'm teaching it. I turn it on very specifically, so I often have to sign out. But sign into your Cortana, absolutely it will. It will do that for you as part of your Cortana features. What's the more normal? And it can set up appointments. It can set up all sorts of stuff. What's the more normal or recommended thing? Oh, okay, we did talk that one. She meant the search folders don't make a difference unless you, because the search feature folder don't. Okay. Yes, it was awesome. Hopefully, and if you have any other questions, please feel free. If you'd like to, we can turn it off in terms of the recording, and come back to being able to have a bit of a chat offline. Ultimately, the true power of working with this is changing in the way that you do your work. Go get curious. Go hover over a command and see what it does. Because if you're not sure, I can guarantee you're doing the work for Microsoft instead of Microsoft doing the work for you. Okay, there's some awesome features there. Please go back. You'll actually, if you scroll back up in the chats, you will see that there's a survey there. There's an event code. It's 14001. If you're not familiar, please fill it out, because the Microsoft Reactor, we want to try and make sure that we're doing everything we can to make this the best possible session for you. Any other questions, thoughts, and comments? We'll come off record in just a moment if you would like to ask me. Thanks for joining. And if you have anything in particular and you want to connect with me, I am both pushing out new features all the time, and I have my user group or online. So you'll find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and joining our sessions. And of course, it's on the wrong screen. It does like to choose that one as a priority screen. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your time.
Thanks, Kirsty. So some great tips there from today's session that I'll definitely be taking into consideration with my outlooks as well. Thank you to everyone for tuning in for another Microsoft Reactor live stream event. As Kirsty mentioned, there is that link there for the survey. Please do fill that out. And if you can check in for today, we just have a couple of additional resources, including in there the YouTube link. So if there's anything today you'd like to refer back to, that you can on our YouTube channel within the next 24 or to 48 hours. Thank you very much again to Kirsty for joining us. We hope to have you back again for another Microsoft Reactor live stream event. As mentioned, I'm going to take this one off record now, and Kirsty will be able to answer any other further questions in that chat box, or you can contact her via the information she provided on that slide. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you joined us from today.